ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳೇ, ಇವತ್ತು ನಾವು BA ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಮೆಥಡಾಲಜಿ 5th ಸೆಮಿಸ್ಟರ್ನ ಟೈಪ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಡಿಸೈನ್ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಚರ್ಚೆಯನ್ನು ಮಾಡೋಣ. ನಾವು ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಡಿಸೈನ್ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಏನು, ಅದರ ಒಂದು ಮಹತ್ವ ಏನು, ಹಾಗೆ ಅದರ ಲಕ್ಷಣಗಳು ಏನು ಅಂತೇಳಿ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ವಿ. ಸೊ ಈ ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಮುಖ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ರೀತಿಯಾದಂಥ ಒಂದು ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಡಿಸೈನ್ಗಳಿದೆ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದನ್ನು ನೋಡೋಣ. ಮುಖ್ಯವಾಗಿ ನಾವು ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಡಿಸೈನನ್ನು ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ತುಂಬ ರೀತಿಯಾದಂಥ ಒಂದು ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಡಿಸೈನ್ಗಳು ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಶೋಧನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಲಭ್ಯ ಇದೆ. ಆದರೆ ನಾವು ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಡಿಸೈನನ್ನು ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಮೊದಲು ನಾವು ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ಯಾವುದು, ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಶೋಧನೆ ವಿಷಯ ಯಾವುದು ಅಥವಾ ಸಂಶೋಧನಾ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಯಾವುದು, ಯಾವ ಒಂದು ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಡಿಸೈನನ್ನು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಅದು ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಶೋಧನೆಯ ಮುಂದುವರಿಯೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಹಾಯ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಹಾಗೂ ಒಂದು ಉತ್ತಮ ಫಲಿತಾಂಶವನ್ನು ಅದು ಕೊಡುತ್ತೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಕಾಲ, ನಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಹಣ, ಸೊ ಇವೆಲ್ಲವುಗಳ ಆಧಾರದ ಮೇಲೆ ಉತ್ತಮವಾದಂಥ ಒಂದು ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಡಿಸೈನನ್ನು ನಾವು ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳೇ. ಸೊ ಅದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಮುಂಚೆ ಮುಖ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಯಾವ್ಯಾವ ಟೈಪಲ್ಲಿ ನಮಗೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಡಿಸೈನ್ ಇದೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ನಾವು ಮೊದಲಿಗೆ ನೋಡೋಣ. ದ ಟೈಪ್ ಆಫ್ ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಡಿಸೈನ್ is one of the biggest contribution to the quality, relevance and accuracy of a result. Therefore, before setting out to outline a proposal, it is always a good idea to distinguish the type of research by including it in the research design. ಸೊ ಈಗ ನಾವು ಯಾವ್ಯಾವ ಟೈಪ್ಗಾದಂಥ ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಡಿಸೈನ್ಗಳಿದೆ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದನ್ನು ನೋಡೋಣ. ಮೊದಲನೇದಾಗಿ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಷನ್ ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಡಿಸೈನ್. The essentials of action research design follow a characteristic cycle whereby initially an exploratory stance is adopted, where an understanding of a problem is developed and plans are made for some form of interventionary strategy. The new interventional strategies are carried out and the cyclic process repeats, continuing until a sufficient understanding of the problem is achieved. Second is case study design. A case study design is an in-depth study of a particular research problem rather than a sweeping statistical survey. It is often used to narrow down a very broad field of research into one or a few easily researchable examples. The case study research design is also useful for testing whether a specific theory and model actually applies to a phenomena in the real world. It is a useful design when not much is known about the phenomena. The third one is causal design. Causality studies may be thought of as understanding a phenomena in terms of conditional statement in the form of if X and then Y. This type of research is used to measure what impact a specific change will have to existing norms and assumptions. Most social scientists seek causal explanation that reflect tests of hypothesis. Causal effect occurs when variation in one phenomena, an independent variable, leads to or results an average in variation in another phenomena that dependent variable. Next, cohort design. Often used in medical sciences but also found in the applied social sciences. A cohort study generally refers to a study conducted over a period of time involving members of an population with the subject or representative member comes from and who are united by some commonality and similarity. Using a quantitative framework, a cohort study makes note of statistical occurrences within a specialized subgroup united by same or similar characteristics that are relevant to the research problem being investigated rather than studying statistical occurrence within the general population. Using qualitative framework, cohort studies generally gather data using methods of observation. Cohorts can be either open or closed. Next one, cross-sectional design. Cross-sectional research designs have three distinctive features: no time dimension, a reliance on existing differences rather than change following intervention, and groups are selected based on existing differences rather than random allocation. The cross-sectional design can only measure differences between or from among a variety of people, subjects, or phenomena rather than change. As such, researchers using this design can only employ a relative passive approach to making casual inferences based on findings. The next one is descriptive design. Descriptive research design help provide answer to the questions of who, what, when, where, and how associated with a particular research problem. A descriptive study cannot conclusively ascertain answers to why. Descriptive research is used to obtain information concerning the current status of the phenomena and to describe what exists with respect to variables or conditions in a situation. Next one is experimental design, a blueprint of the procedure that enables the researcher to maintain control over all factors that may affect the result of an experiment. In doing this, a researcher attempts to determine or predict what may occur. Experimental research is often used where there is a time priority in a causal relationship. There is a consistency in a causal relationship. The classical experimental design specify an experimental group and a control group. The independent variable is administered to the experimental group and not to the control group, and both groups are measured on the same dependent variable. The next one is exploratory design. An exploratory design is conducted about a research problem when there are few or no earlier studies to refer to. The focus is on gaining insights and familiarity for later investigation or undertaken when problems are in a preliminary stage of investigation. Next one is historical design. The purpose of a historical research design is to collect, verify, and synthesize evidences from the past to establish facts that defend or refute your hypothesis. It uses secondary sources and a variety of primary documentary evidences such as logs, diaries, official records, reports, archives, and non-textual informations. The limitation is that the sources must be both authentic and valid. Next one is longitudinal design. A longitudinal study follows the same sample over time and makes repeated observation. With longitudinal surveys, for example, the same group of people is interviewed at regular intervals, enabling researchers to track changes over time and to relate them to variables that might explain why the changes occur. The longitudinal research design describe patterns of change and help establish the direction and magnitude of causal relationships. Measurements are taken on each variable over two or more distinct time periods. This allows the researcher to measure change in variables over time. It is a type of observational study and is sometimes referred to as a panel study. The next research design is observational design. This type of research design draws a conclusion by comparing subjects against a control group. In cases where the researcher has no control over experiment, there are two general types of observational design in direct observation. People know that you are watching them. Objective measures involve any method for studying behavior where individuals do not know they are being observed. The observational study allows a useful insight into a phenomena and avoids the ethical and practical difficulties of setting up a large and cumbersome research project. Next is philosophical design. Understood more as a broad approach to examine a research problem than a methodological design, philosophical analysis and argumentation is intended to change challenge deeply embedded, often intractable and assumption and underpinning an area of study. ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳೇ, ನಾವು ಇಷ್ಟೆಲ್ಲ ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಡಿಸೈನ್ಗಳನ್ನ ನಾವು ಒಂದು ಸಂಶೋಧನಾ ವಿನ್ಯಾಸದಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇದೆ. ನಾನು ಮೊದಲಿಗೆ ಹೇಳಿದಾಗೆ ತುಂಬ ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಡಿಸೈನ್ಗಳು ನಮಗೆ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆದರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಶೋಧನಾ ವಿಷಯ ಅಥವಾ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಶೋಧನಾ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಆಧಾರದ ಮೇಲೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಶೋಧನಾ ವಿಷಯಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾವ ಒಂದು ಟೈಪ್ ಆಫ್ ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಡಿಸೈನ್ ಸೂಕ್ತ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಕಂಡುಕೊಂಡು ಆ ಒಂದು ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಡಿಸೈನನ್ನು ಅಳವಡಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದ್ರ ಮೂಲಕ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಶೋಧನೆಯನ್ನು ನಾವೇನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಯಶಸ್ವಿಗೊಳಿಸಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ.